move or anything? Any
We are
updates?
we're alive, by the way, guys. Details wise,
Details. You're talking to me, right?
just
Yeah.
saying everybody is. Yeah, we're on. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So updates. We don't have a specific day yet. I guess the only new thing is looked at a couple houses online that we really liked. That's about
Nice.
it. So we don't know if we're gonna go straight to our a home that we're gonna rent or if we're gonna live with Allie and Andy for a short time while we find a place. That's another option. Their new house is ginormous.
Nice.
So we're gonna do one of those two things, and then just did put in my little background check information for my job, and then I guess after that clears, it's still going to be a little bit because I can't start until we move up there. So, yeah, that's it. I have a ton of like continuing education and refresher stuff I'm doing right now. I don't know if I told you guys this. I'm doing a 60-hour paramedic refresher course starting on Friday, and then the week after I'm doing multiple other certifications that I have to update and all these other things. So, and then having to actually study too. So, so yeah, that's obviously part of the reason why I can't do the
Jeez.
three day a week
Yeah.
thing. So, yeah,
Do more, dude. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Kind of
4
slacking.
days, 4 days,
Like,
let's do 4 days.
step it up.
I wanted to text. We came on a little bit later today, presumably because Jake, you've been busy doing stuff. I wanted to text you like a shitty a guy like being like tapping his foot gif like as a joke, but I was like, dude, I didn't want it to be received. Like I didn't want to like you be in that moment, where nothing's funny.
It's not like that at all. I'm not overwhelmed or anything. It's
That's
not
good.
that. It's a ton. Just like all this stuff I have to relearn and memorize. Like I showed you guys a little of the protocol book and stuff too.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like overwhelmed or anything like that. It's just simply it's a lot. Like it requires all this time, and everything. So that's it's literally just a time thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we're glad to all be on this week. Actually, it worked out really well this week because, yesterday or whatever it was when we weren't, it was the day before even like when, basically the way that the schedules worked out this week, it's been like spot on for me. Like I've been able to get like extra work done. Like it couldn't have worked out better. So
Good.
yeah, it was like
Perfect.
best case scenario for me. And not that it's always going to be that way. And not that it matters, but hey,
Yeah.
take it when you can, right?
Right. Absolutely. AJ came up with the topics today, by the way, which I thought were great topics. I don't know if you guys even looked over the notes since I sent it to you super late, but yeah, AJ, I literally can't remember if I said this to you already, Clayton, but yeah, he, when did you come up with him, AJ? Like a couple days ago? I don't even remember if we talked about this.
2 or 3 days ago.
2
You
days
just
ago.
asked if I had any ideas, and
Yeah.
I was like off the top of my head.
Actually, like really great topics, especially the one about making improvements at home and stuff. That's a really good one too. Especially since
Nice.
since COVID, that was like a huge thing. Everyone, was worried about losing their gains or performance or whatever it is. So I think it was like perfect time to bring that one up. So
Nice.
I echo that sentiment. I opened it up and I was like, when I read it, I was like, no. And the reason why, is because I'm feeling a little icky. My partner and I stayed home today from our respective works because we had some food that was not good. And so I was like, this is the other thing besides my sessions that I had to do today. And I was like, it's fine. I'll go on and I'll sit back, not say much today. And then I get the notes and I'm like, oh, Jake said all of these things or brought up all these things that are so great. I want to talk about. So Andrew, instead of cursing Jake's name, I curse your name.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'll take it.
thanks for that.
yeah, and I figure too, especially that one, Clay, you'd really like it because I know you, for yourself, you train a lot at home, so it's like,
Big time.
perfect right there.
Big time.
Big time. Are we recording already?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured. I wasn't sure because I know lately you've been doing it, and then I'm not sure if it's already going. But okay, cool.
I got that ninja record, baby.
I like the ninja recording. That's the way to go.
Sneaky.
It's a little sneaky sneaks.
Hey,
Dude, I haven't had
fear
Gatorade in
youngest.
so long.
It's been really helpful. I've been drinking it
Oh,
when times when I am not. So I have a rough relationship sometimes with food. I either go from
I hear you.
overeating to like not eating at all. And which kind of then I overcompensate by overeating when after I'm done not eating at all, right? So
Yeah.
one of the things after going through the precision nutrition level 1 certification process was I realized one of the beautiful things my dad asked me. He was like, what like he was trying to get a good idea of what the value of the precision nutrition course personally for me was, and I was like, for the first time, I was able to see my blind spots from a nutritional
Mm.
standpoint.
Oh,
And
that's a good point.
right, and so one of the big things with that for me is that I realized because I jump back and forth between not eating anything to overeating. My goal is ultimately to eat a little bit more when I'm not eating and not eat as much when I'm overeating to kind of balance
Yeah.
out that energy balance, right?
Yeah.
So this has been my kind of version 1 solution to this problem, which is getting Gatorade, drinking Gatorade, watered down Gatorade. This is actually the full octane stuff, but usually I'm doing watered down Gatorade, just to kind of give myself a sugar drip while I'm
A
and all
sugar
other
drip.
things that come with a Gatorade, right? But let's be honest, the sugar is the big part of what, that's the really what's is keeping my blood sugar up, right? So I found some success, but actually, my partner was just drinking because we're both sick today, right? She's drinking it's not Pedialyte, but it's some like Kinder Light, it's some
Ooh,
version of it, right? But
those are
it's
good.
yeah,
I
when
like
it's
Pedialyte.
like it had some. I'm not usually a fan, but they of like the old school ones, but this one I just tried was
Yeah.
like like, and so I was like, oh, that's what so I think I'm gonna actually experiment with that for when I'm not eating very much. Granted, again, like I said, my got stomach problems today, so that would have been the short way to explain that.
have you guys tried or heard of Liquid IV?
That sounds
Yes,
so familiar.
I haven't had it
Yeah,
myself.
that is
That's a
some
lie.
some good stuff.
I did have it
L-
once, but I wasn't
Love
actually
it.
hungover. I had it after I stopped drinking. But that's what
Hmm.
it's really for, like people for hangovers. Apparently, it's really helpful for
It
replenishing all the things you
yeah,
lose.
it's like they advertise it as drink 4 bottles of water in one packet is worth, like one pack is worth 4 bottles of water pretty much. It's like a powder you just add to the water, and
mm,
people who are hungover, aka dehydrated, it's
Mm.
supposed to expedite that process of getting hydrated
yep.
again.
Yep.
But it's also just a good has the electrolytes in there, a lot of sodium. It's got just rehydrates you.
No,
Use it for multi-purpose.
the only thing about electrolyte type supplements, there's nothing wrong with them or at all, but it is funny as everything in the fitness industry. It's like marketed in kind of a funny way because like someone could eat just about any food and have the same effect from getting electrolytes from the food they just ate or a meal as they could from a powder. I understand the what's the word, the convenience, I guess that's where you can just get it in a few gulps or whatever, so I totally get it, but it's just like I feel like electrolytes used to get promoted as this
Mm-hmm.
very special, very niche, very like, oh, we have the magic formula type of thing here. But
Mm-hmm.
when you could literally, it's like you could eat regular food too and get all your electrolytes.
Isn't
But yeah.
there like, and maybe this is I should have know more about this before I say this, but I feel like a lot of times like we are going like they're advertising really the things that like we're like shunning away. I don't know. It's never mind. I don't know what I'm trying to get at. It's stupid.
Well, you're
Like,
gonna love what we're gonna start to talk about then, because it's goes hand in hand with all this stuff and silly fitness marketing.
Mhm.
And I know we've done this on a few episodes, but I really wanted to talk about some funny things that I've heard in the fitness industry this week. I know I shared one with you guys the other day. I think that was the one about rubbing the wood around your waist to make you lose belly
Yeah.
fat, right? We talked about that on one of the last episodes, but I heard some really, I don't even want to say off the chain anymore. It's like
it's all
this
off the
stuff.
chain.
Like we're not even surprised anymore, but at the same time, there's still a little like shock factor. Like I read this and I can't believe that this is being promoted to people. But regardless, I thought it'd be fun to start the episode this way with some funny things that I've heard. And I saved. Let me look here real quick. I saved the best for the last two. They're all pretty silly, but the last two, I think you guys are going to even just like jaw drop. Okay. So let's start with the first one. The first funny thing that I heard this week in the fitness industry, and that is, you can burn belly. Okay. Let me start this over. There's a smoothie that specifically burns your belly fat. Okay. So a company, I actually don't know the company. I'm not like protecting them or something. I don't remember, but I saw an ad saying drink this smoothie and you will burn your belly fat directly if you drink this smoothie. So that's a very common one, I guess, but I still thought it was pretty funny. I saw that the other day. So it gets better though. Wait till this one. All right. Okay, the next two, I don't know which one is worse, but I'll start with this one. So I saw this, I don't even know what it was. It looked like a Cocoa Puff. Okay. It was this little black thing. I'll just call it a Cocoa Puff. Someone put, okay, so the advertisement, you put this little Cocoa Puff in your belly button, and then you put, it looked like a Band-Aid over, I'm sure some type of tape or adhesive, and that will then make you directly lose body fat by putting this Cocoa Puff in your belly button. So that was a new one. I'd never seen anything about putting stuff in your belly button. Have you guys seen that before?
Is there any like like information on that? Like I mean, what is it trying to do? Like suck the fat out of like straight through the skin, through the belly button, and like have it absorb and just be this like softball size Cocoa Puff or something, you know?
Can you imagine? You know what? I didn't even bother to, I probably should have, but I didn't even bother to read. It was just so comical just seeing that. I was like, man, this is like a level up to like the wood rubbing thing on your waist. Like this was even more so than that. So I didn't. I'll have to look it up though after the show because I'm kind of curious what it says the science is. Because you know all these things like they act like there's like real studies and all this stuff, and that it actually makes you lose weight or do what it says. So that one was funny. Now the next one, doesn't even make sense. You're going to think I'm not saying it right to you guys, like my grammar's off, but this was a direct quote. So this isn't me re-saying, this is literally a direct quote. So I'm going to do my best here. I wrote this down so I wouldn't mess it up. So we should only drink alkaline water. Have you guys seen those bottles for like alkaline water? Okay. So we should only drink alkaline water. If we drink regular water, it is dead. When we drink regular water, it goes to our gut and it makes us bloated. So only drink alkaline water.
So who's selling alkaline water in this
what was
situation? That? So these people are clearly selling alkaline water, right? I mean, is there any other reason for them to be saying that, or like has a cousin selling alkaline water and they're gonna cut?
Did you say has a cousin?
Yeah, I'm just saying like somebody's selling alkaline water. This is, you know what I mean. There's what other reason does anybody have to say that? Although also sounds kind of like a little bit like half baked.
Well, what's this line? If we drink regular water, it is dead.
That's what I'm saying. What are you even talking about? What does that even mean?
Is the water dead?
It almost sounds like they're trying to take advantage of like the whole raw water thing. They're like it's not raw. You know what I mean? Like I don't know,
dude. Did you guys see the Mission Driven Made post on Instagram today? By chance?
No, I've not been on any social.
The thing that I've noticed that the fitness industry marketing does is they create this imaginary problem to the consumer and then sell the secret to this imaginary problem to the consumer. Like, oh, don't drink regular water because it's dead and it's bad and it's going to make you bloated. So buy this. This will solve your problem that you didn't even know you had. All of a sudden, we're just supposed to, I guess, drink alkaline water. Dude, this stuff is it's just crazy. Yeah. It's just off the chain. I don't even know what else to say. But I thought it'd be fun to start today with some of that stuff. I mean, we could do this literally every week, like the stuff that I see.
You know,
I gotta share one too. Sorry, Clayton. Go ahead when you're done.
I was just gonna say there's always more. So hence exactly what you were gonna say.
It's
like what do you got? Let's hear it.
So I didn't hear it this week. So this came out in 2017. but I came across it recently and read about it, and I just thought it would be fun to share. Did you guys ever hear about the weight loss sunglasses that
Stop.
Dude.
Japan invented? I think this was in 2017.
Stop it.
So
Please
ultimately,
stop it.
essentially what they are is a pair of sunglasses that have a blue tint to it.
Like the glasses I'm wearing, do you see the little blue?
Yeah. Imagine putting like a blue shield just right in front of your face. And ultimately, like the scientific research that they quote said was behind this found that blue was the least appetizing color out there. So when you wear these sunglasses and you look at your food, you don't have quite as big of an appetite because it just doesn't look good to you.
This is in Japan.
Yeah.
What do we even do with that? What?
I'm not.
So you can just take them off, right? Like if you want to. I don't.
Well, and it's not going to stop you from being hungry. It's not going to stop your biological need for food.
So their idea behind it was like, well, if your food doesn't look good, you're not going to eat as much of it, so you don't eat as many calories, right?
This is our own fault as humanity. This is our own fault that we believe this stuff. I can't even get mad.
That's fair. That's very.
You know
fair
what I mean?
Too. Yeah.
The crazy thing is, I know I've said this to you guys before. Definitely, I've said this to you, Clay. Is so I think of fitness, right? You know, so we understand fitness, right? To at least a decent degree. Now look at other niches or other, I guess, what am I looking for? Other professions, other whatever, like real estate, or look at anything else. So I think of these things that I don't know very much about, and how easy it would be for me to like I don't know, maybe be manipulated or something. Like I wouldn't know any better. Like if I started looking into anything outside of what I know, I'll use real estate again because we've talked about that. Like how easy it could be for me to, oh, this all makes sense, this is great, but then someone I know that's really experienced in that can be like, oh no, that's complete BS. You know what I mean? It's not like the fitness industry does seem to be really bad, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like the fitness industry, like this is, you know, exclusive just to fitness. Like these scams and false marketing and manipulating, like it has to exist in other industries. You know what I mean?
You know, I'm sure it is, but the thing about our industry is that it's convoluted and often contradictory by nature, or at least seemingly so. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you mean more so than other industries?
Exactly. So it creates this kind of mist around what it, like how to get a good body, which like, and as soon as we start asking that question, we've lost the whole game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's funny because like as oftentimes this happens, we end up kind of coming full circle back to why we're here and talking like this, because you know it's fun to like you said, talk about these stupid bullshit, you know, IG claims, and then also it's sanity, right, for each other. Like I didn't even realize how much I was missing this until we started doing this. Is just somebody else, so that I'm not alone in this echo chamber of insanity. You know what I mean? Dude. Which was really nice too, because when you and I got in touch more on this more professional level, our socials started mixing. And I started looking and following people you've recommended, and I started seeing, so I've now not only have you guys to talk to, but the people that you follow, Jake, specifically, now I've gotten into this other loop, which is now there are people out there saying the right things and calling out the bullshit. It's just like, you gotta be in the right algorithm, right? We're on that algorithm because we want to see the good stuff. So like, you know, Instagram's like, give them more of the good stuff. You know?
Dude, the echo chamber of insanity. That was amazing. That should be the title of the episode today. Dude, it seriously though, social media with fitness, it's such a mess. Like I've gotten to the point now while we've been doing this, because I got very far on the other side of the spectrum where like I literally thought everyone was a charlatan, and like there was maybe two good people. So I went a little far on that side of the spectrum. Then kind of the other way to where like, okay, there's some good people doing, you know, good work, obviously, and I'm trying to be more balanced with that. But lately, almost every fitness account that pops up is like a sponsored ad, right, on IG. I'm like, this is trash. Like, this is, and you could say,
Sucks.
like, okay, I think that maybe someone else doesn't, which is fair, but some of this stuff, I'm like, why would anyone consume this? Like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it, even if this gives me hate, or I get hate for this. Sorry, a dude does a sponsored ad just of himself with a shirt off, right? And there's no content behind it. It's just a picture of himself with their shirt off. You go to the account, and it's just pictures of them in the mirror flexing. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. I know, like, somebody, oh, what about bodybuilders? That could, but bodybuilding accounts can do that. But there's like a lot of them. There's actually content and some value there too, like, or education or something. But just taking pictures of yourself, like, and some of these accounts have 50,000 people. I'm like, or following them, like 50,000 people, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, who does this benefit when there's literally there's no education, there's no actual inspiration. It's like someone just flexing, which I don't get that. Maybe that's just me. Maybe someone else will be inspired by that, but that is what I've seen lately. So now I'm back on the other side of the spectrum again. Like, okay, there's only a handful of good people. Everyone else is the worst.
It's perfect.
You know what I
We
mean?
got to have that perfect yin and yang here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Andrew's the jelly.
Nice.
Andrew's the jelly.
The
That's
jelly.
the jelly. The juice.
The juice.
jam.
So,
yeah.
Clay, so you were saying your consult went good though?
Yeah, it was really good.
Awesome.
The young gentleman. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Something stuck.
Ooh.
Hmm.
A little
Ugh.
tea.
Yeah, a little tea. I got my tea. I got my Gatorade. I'm set up. Except for I don't have any way to pee, which that's the real problem, isn't it? Oh.
Dude, I saw the funniest thing on Instagram yesterday. It said scientists recently discovered to take your tea, dump it out, and fill the cup up with coffee instead. It was amazing.
That's
Sorry,
great.
sorry,
Oh my
kind of
God.
digressing here.
That's
You said
wonderful.
your consult went well though.
Yeah, I met the shoot. That's like fucking great. The young, I should say the young gentleman, the dude I met. He's a couple years younger than me, and he is an ex-athlete like myself, who has, as often we do, have injuries to consider. Though unlike myself, he's never lifted. So he has that athletic background. He's really smart, and that kind of combo of really smart athletic background. So he knows how to push himself and take care of himself. Presumably, we'll learn about that. That's a great mixture for a really successful client. Whether he ends up with me or not, is almost beside the point to me. Because he has got another consultation, as I was telling you today, with somebody else. And like I told him, is like, regardless of whether you go, you start training with me or this other person, he's in a really good spot to not only get the most out of a trainer, but I think really learn how to live happier, healthier, with also awesome like returns. And
Yeah.
the word gains is such a tough word because people associate it with muscle bound bros, but
Like Gaines with a Z at the end.
Exactly. It's the same thing he said. Literally, that was the same exact thing he said. He said Gaines with Z at the end. And then, so like he would, like, honestly, if he were to jump on this call, he would fit right in with this, conversation. So I think that I'm going to end up working with him at some point. Whether I do or not is really beside the point, because I'm sure he's going to be in a, really good place to be really successful. And it's exciting, even if I don't end up having any kind of, professional benefit from meeting him. It's always gets you jacked up to see somebody at that point in their journey, because he's going to find his way whether we work together or not, because he's determined to find his way. And that's, it makes you just like, it puts the fire back in your belly, puts fire back in my belly, certainly.
Dude, that's so exciting, like having clients like that. Because Clay, I told you this before, like how precision nutrition, going through that course, how it changed my mindset a little bit. Cause I used to just be like, if someone wasn't determined, I just would kind of in my head, you know, like roll my eyes or whatever and just be like, come on, guys, just like pull yourself up from the bootstrap a little bit here, or by the bootstrap, you know what I mean? Like get to work. And then when I went through that course, it kind of reminded me, if you're looking at the whole population of people, like, no, you do need to kind of meet people at their level and where they are. And I started to understand that more. You can't just be like not that I was ever a drill sergeant when I was a trainer or anything like that, but that you can't really be like that with everyone. So instead of the like do what I say type of thing, like work harder, you know, my mind is like kind of, you know, I've kind of gone the other way, like the meeting people where they're at or whatever. So what I'm trying to say here, it's really cool where you have someone where it's like you don't feel like you have to hold their hand quite as much. I'm not saying that's a terrible thing with some people, but when you have someone that's determined and you don't have to be the external motivation for them, that's really exciting. Because I personally, this is just me personally, I don't think a trainer should be the source of motivation. And I know
agree.
many people disagree, and that's fine. I just like, I think of, say, like boot camp in the park, right? Like where there's a trainer yelling and trying to quote unquote motivate everyone. I don't think that's, if you list 10 responsibilities of a trainer, 10 things that they do, for me, that wouldn't be make the top 10 list, like being the motivation for someone. And so, you know, I in the past I have thought like, man, are we just babying people too much? You know, but again, I kind of think more in the middle now versus how I used to. But regardless, having someone like that you know is going to actually show up and not make excuses,
Yeah.
dude, that's a fun person to work with. I mean, you could have the type of person that makes tons of excuses, doesn't always show up, and then you have to kind of work through that challenge and see if you can actually come up with a solution and get that person to adhere to the, you know, program and adhere to them actually coming. That's exciting too in its own regard, but there's nothing like having someone that's motivated and you are now their dancing partner versus like wrestling them to the ground trying to tell them, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. Hopefully, you know, it works out and you get to train this new person.
I appreciate that, and I can't agree with you more. And I have to say that I've been really lucky. Although to be honest with you, I'm not sure if it's as much purely luck, and it is a lot of luck, mostly luck. But I have to say, I think bartending, and Andrew, I'd be interested to hear your perspective on this. Really kind of, and I bartended for quite a few years, and I served tables before and after bartending. But
Oh yeah.
doing that
Yeah.
for so long, working with people for so long, I really got kind of a better knowledge of psychology than I did even working on my psychology degree. Um, Obviously, they're happening simultaneously, so I can't like, you know, extricate one from the other. But the reality of working in a service industry, especially that one that's front of house, I was you know, like, you know, always front of house, always dealing with the customer. You really learn about people. And one of the things that I knew when I came into training was that if I have to be people's source, where they're going to fail, because I haven't even figured out at that point, and I'm still learning. I think it's a lifelong journey, but especially at that point, I hadn't even begun to learn what even really drove myself and how to make that consistent and reliable. So how am I going to create that for somebody else? And to be honest with you, it was a big fear that I had going into the business to begin with. But I also, like from bartending, I also knew that there were only, like, it's not worth, you got to figure out where you're going to direct your energy when you're a bartender, because you can't do, like, if someone is drunk, you can't, and you're not getting through to them, continuing to try to tell them and then get through to them isn't going to work. So you got to be creative and you got to figure out new ways. And I think that really helped me as I've kind of moved on from bartending. I mean, I see you nodding over there, Andrew. You feeling what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I feel like I felt that more at, I'd say, James Republic than I did Terrapin Crossroads, just simply because of, you know, James Republic was attached to a hotel, so you got like every end of the spectrum type of people coming in there, businessmen, you know, people from just on the streets, not doing so well, and everywhere in between. Whereas like Terrapin was a little bit interesting because it was a Grateful Dead restaurant, so the clientele was pretty much all the same, I would say. At least like 85% of the people that came in there had like a very similar hippie free spirit mindset, to them. But when you were talking about dealing like with a drunk person coming in and like where to actually funnel your energy, yeah, you learn really quickly what see, I'm losing my train of thought here on that one, but just where to take the time with somebody.
I see the crossover
ultimately
there that you guys are talking about, and especially when you said talking to someone that's intoxicated, not getting through to them. There's no point to keep repeating yourself. It's like when you're a trainer and you're trying to give someone a cue and they don't get it, and then you just keep saying the same thing over and over. Like I'm sure we've all done that. I did that a bunch, especially in my early 20s. It's a chest up, or whatever it is, and someone's not responding, but you just keep saying it. I could see there being similarities there with working in the service industry, and then training. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. You said it.
Yeah.
It definitely has that, and I'll tell you, as much as I might have said in those years that I was not for it, I'm so grateful for the time that I spent working in food service, and it was a long time. It was over a decade, and so I did my time. But I think I have an appreciation for hard work in a different way that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And it wasn't intentional, but that leads me to a curiosity towards you, Jake. Talk about working and like caring about your work and doing your work because it matters. And especially at the expense of oneself. How are you feeling as you kind of get ready to get back into this life of a paramedic and kind of living it's a hard life, right? I presume, or it seems like from an outsider's perspective.
Dude, it's I don't even know if we really announced it yet, but yeah, I'm going
sorry.
back to no. This is perfect time to do it. No, I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, so for listeners, like some of my background and how I was in fire and EMS for about a decade. So I left that field maybe a year and a half ago. Been on a hiatus. I've been doing mainly mission driven made. And anyways, I decided that I'm gonna go back. We're still gonna do mission driven made. We just might not be doing 3 episodes a week for a little while. Mission driven made is still gonna keep going though. But anyways, though, I decided how much I missed it and that I wanted to go back. And I was reminded by this with a few things. So when I left the fire department, I went to another job. I'm not going to say where, but working there, I think I stayed there for about 7 months. There were some great people there. I learned a lot, but I've never felt so without purpose and with just, I don't want to say empty, like work is the only thing that can fulfill you, because I don't think that. I see work as such a big part of your life, since you're going to spend a third of your life doing that or more, depending on the person. And I was sitting there, one day doing the job that I was doing. I'm just like, I feel like I'm wasting my life, and life is so short, as cliche as that sounds. Me and Andrew were talking about this the other day, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do, we're here for so short. I'm not going to be working somewhere where I do not like the work I'm doing. I don't feel like there's even a little bit of impact with what I'm doing, or like there's no, in my mind, it didn't feel like there was any service. And I feel like you were saying, Clayton, I feel more of a service oriented person. Like that's what I kind of like. So anyways, yeah, so I decided to go back to EMS. We're going to be moving back to California, to Northern California, in about, I don't know, 6 weeks or so. And so to answer your question, I'm really, nice little dance there. Wow, that's pretty good. With
that is pretty good.
That was fast, dude.
That's how
that was
Jake moving to
impressive.
California makes me feel. It makes me shimmy.
Yeah, so I got hired. So I won't be working for the fire department. I'm going to be working as a single role paramedic up in Northern California. And I'm really excited going into this because it's a different mindset now. Because like getting into it, it was so unbelievably stressful all the time. I'll leave out all the details, but constant stress and the amount of studying, it was just I felt like I was going to have a mental breakdown a couple times, just going through the process and being sleep deprived and everything. But now, as I prepare to go back into EMS, I'm studying again, like I've told you guys, but it's not everything I'm looking at isn't brand new. It's like I'm relearning stuff, so it's not brand new, and it's exciting because now it's like I don't feel like I'm starting from like square one. I feel like, of course, I need to review a ton of stuff still and whatnot, but I feel like it's a refresher, and then I'm going to be my goal to be better than I was, when I was doing it a year and a half ago. That's the goal, and then also I'm going to be pursuing my dream that I didn't have a chance to after I got hurt back in, when was that, 2016, trying to become a SWAT paramedic. So that's going to be a big goal of mine in the service I'm going to be working for. They're working on that whole tactical paramedic program. So hopefully in the near future, I'll actually be able to do that. So dude,
Cool.
I'm super pumped. Like I feel like a little kid, dude. I literally like when I Clayton, we've talked about this a bunch too. Like when I geek out about something, I really geek out about something. I get super into it and obsessed, and I like it. That's just kind of my personality. So I study all the time. I've literally been watching. Do you guys know the show Night Watch by chance?
No.
So
Is it a doc? It's like a docu-series, isn't it?
yes, and it's an amazing show. And I don't personally normally like shows that are like fire or EMS. I think they're almost all super cheesy,
Yeah.
like Chicago Fire and stuff like that. I mean, it's fine. I just not my
Sure.
cup of tea. But this show, it's real. It's about
Oh, nice.
primarily about New Orleans emergency medical services, about New Orleans EMS, and they just have such a cool department. And New Orleans is a crazy city, and the stuff that they see. Um, so it's primarily like they're following the ambulance crews around, and you're seeing everything. Like they go on these people go on multiple shootings just about every shift, and every type of call you could really think of. So you get like this up close and personal look of the job. So it's not like I haven't seen those things. It's just seeing them again is getting me excited to do the job. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, the show it's amazing too. And then some of the episodes too, they'll feature like the New Orleans Police Department for part of the episode, and the New Orleans Fire Department for part of the episode. But it's primarily, like I said, about the EMS department, and it's such a cool show because it's like it's not dramatized. Besides, like they'll put in a little music here and there and whatever, but like it's like that. It's like actual calls. They're not. It's not some TV show, that's fictional.
Tight.
So, dude, AJ, you especially should check that out.
I'm gonna make a note of it. I want to check it out for
Yeah, I
sure.
wanna
Night
check
Watch,
it
you
out
said,
too.
right?
Night Watch.
Yeah.
There's like 5 or 6 seasons, and I think the newer seasons you might have to purchase. But if you do season 4 or below, I think those are all free. I legit think it'd be something you'd be interested in. Clay, I don't know if you watch that
I'll
type of
check it
stuff,
out
but
for
you
sure.
you
Yeah.
should check it out. It's awesome. So yeah, that was a really, really long way to answer your question, but I am super pumped. I feel like I have I don't know, that pep in my step again, and
Nice.
something to really challenge me. Not like this doesn't this completely challenges me, like everything with this brand and podcast, of course, but there's something else about that challenges me in a way that nothing else ever has in that respect. And it just requires so much to be good at it. So that's what I want to shoot for, is be really good at my job there. And yeah, so I can't wait. It'll be like 12-hour shifts for me. I think they do 12-hour shifts, like 3 days one week for the next week, and rotate. I think that's their primary. I've done that before the fire department. That was one of the types of rotations I was on, was 12-hour shifts. So it's nothing, you know, that I'm not used to. I'm not super stoked thinking I might have to work at night again.
Yeah.
I'm not a night person. I like waking up early in the morning and going to bed early. So if I have to do that, that will be the one complaint. But that would be temporary. I wouldn't have to do that forever or anything. So
Imagine, I mean, you're coming in with with a certain amount of experience. So while you may come in and initially have to, you know, pay your dues, it's not like you're going to be toiling at the bottom of the ladder. It's like you come in, you know, I would imagine, with a certain amount of value immediately to the younger, less experienced people, right? And I'm sure that I would imagine that that's a big part of, like your new bosses probably not only see that and value that, but like that's a big part of your package, right? Because you know, one of the things, especially as somebody who's known you a long time, and you know, I'm sure Andrew, you know, saying that so it feels weird saying that with Andrew in the room, you know, but as someone who's known you a long time, it's like, though you've had a path of, you know, interesting different things going on in your life, you've always been fully committed and you've always been fully reliable. And that makes you, not only an awesome, I'm sure, you know, employee for them, but a really awesome some person for them to put into a position of mentorship, you know? So
yeah,
I'm stoked for
thanks,
you, man.
dude. Yeah, it's that career in general, I would say like a big thing that's kind of unique to it with fire and EMS is you're supposed to pass on what you've learned to other people coming on, like the whole teaching thing. Like everyone should teach in some extent. Not everyone should teach formally in a classroom. I'm not saying that, but if you're an experienced medic or EMT, you should pass on that knowledge to the newer people coming on. That's kind of a tradition. It's not something like in sales, for example, maybe you don't want to pass on your little secret knowledge to your coworkers that you're competing against to sell more than, you know what I mean? So in fire and EMS, it's really special in that regard. And I love that. I love having new people that I get to work with, even if they're very inexperienced and have no idea what they're doing, as long as like they want to be there and have some commitment all day long, dude. I love doing that stuff. But I'm going to be that new person, not with the career, but with the department. You know what I mean? And so I'll be new in at least to that respect. So I'll have to learn their system. The only system I know is San Diego. You know what I mean? And it took years to understand that whole 911 system. So I'm going to be learning a new one. So I'm going to be the greenhorn, at least to some respect, going there. But you know, I'm fine with it. I've been in that new person role plenty of times. So yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Well,
Nice.
Gents, do you guys want to get into the fitness stuff for the episode? I almost forgot I was having so much fun talking about fire and EMS stuff. You guys want to get into the fitness or what?
Fitness. Jake, have you ever seen, just real quick, did you ever see Combat Rescue?
That was a really cool show.
That was a really good docuseries on
the PJs.
The PJs. Yeah,
Dude,
exactly.
PJs, mad respect. If any of you are listening, love you guys. The work you do is amazing, especially when it comes to trauma stuff. I had a PJ in my fire academy, and he was awesome.
Can you
back in
enlighten
the
it
day
for the rest of us laymen out here?
yeah, so yeah, my bad. So a PJ, that's their nickname. So it's a pararescue man, I think is the term they use, and they are paramedics that work on the helicopter for the Air Force, and one of their primary duties is responding to critically ill or injured people on the battlefield.
Okay.
That's if someone's a PJ listening, they're probably like, "Oh wow, that was a really poor way to say it." But essentially, think of them as a flight paramedic with lots of skills that responds in like harsh environments and on the battlefield. So primarily it's for trauma, for shootings and explosions and blasts and all that type of stuff. The reason I respect them so much is we see trauma in the city, like we see gunshots and, you know, I've been on all that type of stuff, but that is like their thing. That's like their specialty. And I just have so much respect for them doing that job, and to get that job is insane. Their pipeline is one of the longest for any of the special operations across the entire U.S. military. Theirs is, I think, one of the longest. And I've seen their training, and obviously watching videos isn't the same as being there, but just watching, I'm like, wow, that is tough. Like to just become a PJ. I mean, it's I think, AJ, you might have heard this, I'm not sure, but if I remember correctly, it's like a 70 to 80% washout rate. So which is similar to the SEAL teams.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's up there.
Yeah, so
revised
that
my
show
cool
was.
statement.
Did we watch that together?
Yes.
Okay.
I think wait, are you talking about combat rescue?
Yeah.
I think we did. It probably was in Long Beach sometime when we were hanging out. So it came out in 2013, I believe. Is when it came out.
I wonder if they have any new episodes. I'll have to check. Yeah, but
That's awesome.
I'm definitely going to check that. But you have to also check out Night Watch, though.
Yes, I had a note right here. Got it.
Sweet. So for fitness today, I know you guys are probably wondering if we're ever going to get to that. So we're going to start with a cool topic. Andrew thought of the topics today, which I was stoked about. I love, other people coming up with some of these ideas. Every once in a while, I'll text someone and just randomly ask, like, what topic would you want to hear about today? Like people that I know that listen to the podcast. So I love having ideas that don't always come from my brain. It's fun to, explore what other people are thinking. And not like the topics you picked were like these have never been talked about or something, but it's like, oh, these are just fantastic topics that are very relevant. So yeah, we'll start with the question today is, can you actually make gains with the Z, Clayton? Can you make gains from a home gym or doing home workouts? Okay, so this is a fantastic question. And to me, this is important. This became very popular. I heard this question being asked a lot after the pandemic started. And I remember specifically for me, I was still in San Diego, and I remember hearing the announcement that everything was shutting down the next day. And I remember we had like a day or maybe 12 hours of notice. At least I think that's what we had in San Diego. I don't know how it was in the Bay for you guys, but it's sad that one of my first thoughts was like, oh shoot, like I don't have tons of like equipment at home. I got to go get some fitness equipment. That was one of my first thoughts, which is, that probably sounds really bad saying that out loud. But anyways, though, were you gonna say something, Clay?
I was just gonna say in my head, like the cartoon version of that is Jake hears that it's going lockdown. It's like, all right, got to go get as many deadlifts in as I can before they lock it down.
I'll just say this: my family was taken care of, so it wasn't like I'm not concerned about my family. I'm just gonna get weights. But I totally just sounded like a meathead saying that. But anyways, though, we had about 12 hours. And so what I did, I rushed over to the gym that I had been coaching at, and my boss was lending out equipment to coaches and to some of the people there. So I went there that night and I got some dumbbells and some mats and some other equipment. And I really remember being worried, if I have enough equipment and what's going to happen. Like, am I going to lose strength, endurance, muscle? Is my performance going to decline? Like, I wasn't really sure because I never really done home workouts, at least nothing significant or for any like length of time. So I really didn't know. And it's not like a complex topic necessarily, but it's not something I really felt like I had experience in. But anyway, so this is what I did, and then I'll kind of get into my point in a second. So over time, during the pandemic and then after, borrowing stuff from the gym, I slowly started accumulating more equipment to have at the house. So I got resistance bands, I got a rower, a pull-up bar, and then a few other basic things. Then when we eventually moved to Arizona, then I got enough stuff to create like a very small home gym. Still not like everything you get in a gym or anything, but more stuff there. But anyways, though, this really got me thinking, like, can I make improvements at home, or at best not lose everything that I've worked so hard for? And so the best way, I think, to answer this question is to first understand, who are we answering that question to? That's the first thing, okay? So I'm going to go through a couple examples. I know that might have sounded a bit confusing, but we're going to go through the different people that could be asking this question, because the answer to this question could be different depending on who is asking us that question. So example one, okay, so this person, say, is brand new to exercise. They've never really done any formal exercise, whatever that really means, or resistance training in their life. We'll just a new person, whatever you want to call it. And so this person, okay, say everything's shut down again tomorrow, had to work out at home, minimal equipment. So this person that doesn't have too much experience doing this, they absolutely can make improvements, not just in strength, but across the board, in strength, in endurance, muscle building, performance in general. They absolutely could do this with equipment, minimal equipment, with no equipment. in general, they're going to do just well. Newbies or new people in general do very well. I'm just going to throw out an arbitrary number, but say the first year, maybe 2, they do great. The progress they make is way faster than someone that's been lifting for a long time. No matter what they do, even if they don't really know what they're doing too much, they're still going to make improvements. So person number 1 absolutely can make improvements. Now let's go to person 2. So this person has some experience with, we'll say, fitness and some recreational exercise, maybe some resistance training. They might not be super serious about it, but they do like to go to the gym sometimes to, as they say, stay healthy. So a good week for them, they maybe made it to the gym a couple times. Like that's a lot for them. And this person, so again, I'm just making this up. It doesn't have actual meaning specifically. I'm just going to call this the intermediate person. Okay, because you could argue that is not an intermediate person, but just kind of hear what I'm saying. So this person, this intermediate person, or this person in the middle, so they also, I would say, they could make improvements, but maybe not to the rate that, say, person number 1 that had no experience, okay? This person can still make improvements. They just won't be quite as fast. And this is with minimal equipment or no equipment at all. They absolutely can make some improvements across the board, whether this was strength, endurance, muscle building, okay? Just not going to be fast as person number 1. Let's move on to person number 3. This is the quote-unquote advanced person. And again, there's not any specific numbers behind this. I'm just trying to get you guys kind of an idea of a spectrum of people. That's it. It's not meant to be exact, but an advanced person. So this person's been resistance training consistently for years. So this person has built a decent amount of muscle and is, we'll say, relatively strong. In this category too, this is where I would throw in like the athletes. Like we'll say any athlete you can think of, but including you bodybuilders, powerlifters, etc. Okay, so this person, when we get to this person, they are going to have a much harder time making improvements from home if we're talking at least about minimal equipment. So if we have this athlete, we have this person that's been resistance training for a long time. They go from, they're in the gym 5-6 days a week. They're doing compound movements. They're doing anything from deadlifts, squats, pull-ups, power cleans, all the way to, we'll say, bicep curls. They do just about all that stuff. You know what I mean? So they are going to have a lot more trouble making gains because, as we know, our body over time is going to adapt to the demands or stimulus that you place on it, right? Now, this goes both ways. So if, say, this bodybuilder's used to lifting 6 days a week, and if with resistance, and say they go to an environment like their house, say they don't have any equipment, it's very hard for me to believe that over time that person isn't maybe over time going to lose at least some muscle. So that's the first part of this answer. And again, those 3 people, that's just 3 people. This question, we could answer this on a much larger spectrum or a lot more broad. There's people, like, it doesn't go from like the made up intermediate person I said all the way to this like advanced athlete. There's people in between. I was literally doing that just to, make a easy, clear example to follow. Another consideration that we do have to think about that goes outside of whether you are a quote unquote new person, intermediate, advanced, is what equipment do they have or have access to? Yep. Or what equipment are you willing to have or get? This is also a big one, because say this power lifter, whoever it is very strong. Say they're used to squatting 500 pounds. They're in the gym all the time. They take this stuff seriously, but they don't have access to the equipment, whether they don't have room, it's not within their budget, whatever it is, okay? This person over time, as everyone's body does, like I said earlier, is going to adapt to the demands that you place on it. Your body's constantly trying to maintain, we'll call homeostasis, meaning this constant internal environment to exist and to thrive and to survive, essentially. So over time, if this person that is used to doing these heavy squats and heavy deadlifts and bench press, and this is their normal routine, when they are deprived of that and they don't have the equipment or access to do so, then yes, absolutely, there is no way they're going to be able to maintain that same amount of strength. Okay, especially if this is looked at over time. Now, if this is, say, a couple weeks, that's a different story. If we're talking about 2 years where they don't have access to those things, then it'd be very hard for me to believe that that person squatting 500 pounds is going to be able to squat 500 pounds in 2 years if they aren't able to have access to equipment like that. A few more things I did want to mention, especially if you're that person, if you don't have access to things like this, but you do want to do something at home. So we wanted to leave you with kind of a couple takeaways here. So an idea, obviously, if it's within your budget, I recommend resistance bands. And here's why. Resistance bands are, for the most part, very cheap. Affordable. Is you can go on Amazon and get them for, I don't know, maybe a pair. There you go. 15, 20 bucks, whatever it is. Clayton has them right there. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see his
that form.
That form and that face he's making there.
Jerk your back in rough motions that really pain is what you're going for.
Yeah, do exactly opposite of what he just said. So perfect.
And don't do that for him.
So resistance bands. So not only are they normally affordable, I love them because they don't take up any room.
Yeah.
You can bring them anywhere, whether that's like, if you're traveling or if you're literally just working out in your house. That's what I love about them. Also, if you have resistance bands, something I've noticed, people that if you don't have equipment or access to equipment at home, it's very hard to do certain movements or planes of motion or exercises such as, I'm going to say, working your back. So think of pull-ups, think of rows, think those type of movements that can be very hard to work at home. If you're looking at, pushing movements like, you could do push-ups or you can do presses, whatever it is, you could, for the most part, people can figure out how to do those in their home, but without resistance bands or a pull-up bar, it can be somewhat challenging to work out your back or the pulling muscles. So that's another reason why I really like resistance bands. Another idea for those of you, especially the ones that are, again, to this made-up intermediate or advanced lifter, that you don't want to lose your gains with a Z at the end. Something else you can do, and I'm not going to say it's going to substitute for the resistance training that you're doing, but it's still something. So this is tempo training. Okay. So this is where essentially it's where you slow down the movement. So instead of, say, you're doing an air squat, 2 seconds on the way down, 1 second on the way up, this is where you would maybe take 5 or 6 or 7 seconds on the way down and then 2 or 3 seconds on the way up, whatever it is. So doing this, it will create more challenge in the movement. It won't necessarily create the same amount of mechanical tension that it would be as if you were lifting with a barbell or dumbbell or the normal resistance training work you normally do. It won't create that same tension, but it still will create a little bit more of a challenge than if you weren't doing it. So resistance bands, tempo work, and lastly, another idea that you can do is start to work on some unilateral work. So this is working one side of your body at a time. So for example, instead of doing air squat, start working on doing, say, a single leg squat. So you'd be very surprised. You could be someone that's relatively strong, squats, say, over 400 pounds, and then you go to squat on just one leg. You're going to be surprised with how much you're challenged by that if you're not someone that's done unilateral work before. So that's also an option that I've done when I've worked out at home, is do some of the unilateral work. Also, I did forget to mention too, get creative. If you don't have access again to like equipment, use stuff around your house. You could fill up a backpack with stuff. You could fill up a trash can if you wanted, and use these things for rows, for presses, anything like that. You could grab a milk carton or jug and do do flies with them like you would in the gym. So you can get creative. But I will have to say though, if you're that advanced person, it's more of mitigating all this stuff, okay? But the good news, though, there have been studies showing that it's a lot easier and takes less work and less volume to maintain the muscle you have versus growing your muscle and getting stronger. To keep doing that, over time, it's a lot of work. It's a slow process. But if you were to reel back a little bit and you're doing these home workouts, it is possible to maintain at least to a certain amount of time. So I do think that's good news. I don't want you to think, oh, I'm going to be a month away from my gym, I'm going to lose everything. I'm not saying that whatsoever. No, you still can maintain. It's not going to require tons of work to maintain versus, say, how much work it would take to get stronger or to gain more muscle than you already have. Do you guys have anything with this? Anything to add?
I mean, essentially, you're saying just like stimulation, right? Just got to keep at least getting some sort of at home exercise and stimulating the muscles and maintaining that is kind of what I got from that last point there.
Yeah.
But I think if I talked about like my experience a little bit, just because I do work out in a home gym, and I think I fall under like more of the intermediate category, I would say, because
the fake category that
I there was so I never really worked out at home until COVID happened, and I was working as a bartender for a long time, and I kind of got out of working out for almost like 4 years, almost 5 years, I would say, in between 4 and 5. And then when COVID happened, I was kind of looking at myself in the mirror. I'd gained a lot of weight by not working out and living a pretty unhealthy lifestyle and stuff like that. And so I made the choices to start developing a home gym, got the dumbbells, got a nice little bench going on. And personally, I did see some pretty awesome gains. I was able to lose a little fat. It's not like I gained this huge amount of muscle by any means, but I was getting stronger. My movements were getting a little more solid, and I was I think the biggest thing for me, getting more consistent.
Nice.
And I was getting on a routine, and I was starting to be consistent. It was a big word I want to use for that. And so on a personal level, I saw some really important gains for myself to keep me motivated, to keep me happy and healthy. And it's been working out, and it's still working out to this day. You know, I still work out at home right now.
I guess you don't have to pick. I don't have to make you do that, but like, do you enjoy that versus going to a gym more?
I would say, because I've been working out at home for some time now, it's been, almost 2 years. It has been 2 years. Wow. I miss a lot of certain machine exercises and certain pieces of equipment that I just either can't afford or I just can't fit in my place. So I don't have the biggest apartment either, and I have one spare bedroom I'm putting all my equipment in right now. So I would say there is definitely aspects of the gym that I miss. There's having a bench press, or a leg press, or the ability to have a squat machine and stuff like that. I'm missing at home.
Yep.
But I don't think I favor one or the other, because I'm also having a lot of success, and fun working out at home. And I've kind of made it fun. I figured out what exercises I like doing, and I'm maintaining that, and I'm being consistent with it. That's the biggest term I like to throw out there. Love because I'm not feeling unmotivated, and I'm looking forward to my workouts still at home.
Heck yeah. That's where it's at right there.
Yeah.
I got to put both of you on the spot right now, and you have to answer this. I'm going to create some false dichotomy world right here. So you have to, okay. If you had to pick one piece of equipment, so you were to work out at home, right? And you get to pick one, it's the only thing you could have for the rest of your life. What would that piece of equipment be?
Power blocks.
Why Easy. Clayton, I don't even know why I asked you.
Adjustable dumbbells.
I already knew. Clayton says we're gonna, like, when we get sponsored by someone, it's gonna be Power Blocks. He decided.
Power Block. If you're listening to this, know that not only am I a customer, but I'm the chief of security. I don't know, what do they say? Those old infomercials. I ruined it. Dad joke alert. But sincerely, I tell my customers, particularly the ones who want to work out at home, that is the combination of bench and adjustable dumbbell set is all you'll ever need. Again, need, right? Because obviously when you start talking about getting into the gym, you can't be big and buff with like it's just dumb to say. You can look big and buff, because if you get super lean, you can totally do that with dumbbells. But if you want to lift heavy weights, you got to have at least ground that you can put heavy weights on. You know what I mean? Right. So like for me, like Andrew, I found success with working out at home. Granted, I've been a trainer for the last 4 years, and I've also had access to a studio where I have, so it's not like I've been without access to. So it's hard for me to have a 100% honest answer, because even during the pandemic, when everybody else didn't have a gym to work out at, I could have gone to the studio and worked out because nobody was there, and I could go there. So I didn't, and the reason why was pretty much what Andrew said, but echoed for myself, which is basically to say, once I figured out that I didn't need to go through the challenge of getting my butt dressed and through the door, that all of a sudden simplified it for me, because now the only actions that are keeping me from endorphins are literally laying on the ground and pushing myself up from the ground. You know what I mean? And that all of a sudden creates a whole new question for, am I going to get a workout in today, or am I going to get any exercise in today at all? Because the answer is, it's not some big thing I can find an excuse for. It's like, and let me rephrase. I'm not suggesting that everybody finds excuses. I find excuses not to work out by like saying, oh, I don't want to get up and I don't want to go to the gym, right? And once I figured out that with these adjustable dumbbells, and it doesn't need to be Power Block, but Power Block is my brand of choice, and I think they're their kind of flagship of that, at least as far as I know. And between that and a bench, you've got everything that you need. That said, now as we've talked about, I'm personally where I'm at in my life is I'm lifting heavy for the first time, with the goal of, not with any kind of urgency, but with the goal of putting on actual muscle. So partly what I had to do is I got extensions, as we've talked about. I got the heavier extensions of the Power Blocks, but there's not, once I reach that full 90 on both dumbbells, and I'm doing my pushes, my pulls, and my squats and my deadlifts, no problem with that. The only place to go from there is with a barbell, period. You know what I mean? Is the reality of that. So, and I plan, and I'm not in any rush, but I plan on exceeding that point at some point. So if that's the goal, personally, again, I need to make plans to get myself a cage if I plan on doing that from a home environment, which I do want to do, because I'm actually, I am hoping to either, there's a lot of logistics, there's a lot of variables, but I'm hoping to convince the people who own the gym that I work at, who are also my family, to let me move a cage into the studio, because they don't have they've got a barbell, but it's not for heavy. I probably lift heavier than anybody who works out there. If you guys are listening to this, I don't know, that might be a couple weeks out, but I do, I'm at that point now where there is no substitute, or I should say, I'm working towards the point where there will be no substitute for the barbell and the cage and, the heavier weights.
AJ, what you got? You got to pick one.
I think hands down, I got to go with Clayton. Dumbbells. Easy. It's simply for the amount of exercises you can do with dumbbells exceeds, for me, any other piece of equipment you can have at home. And especially, I think it's really important having adjustable dumbbells if you can pick those out specifically, just, so you can increase weight a little bit if you'd like to.
Yeah.
Jake, you too.
So I do like the idea of the adjustable dumbbells.
You hate Power Blocks. We know how you feel, Jake.
I'm not a huge Power Block fan, but I do like the idea of you can use a lot more weight easily. It's just like a little clip or however it works. I do like that, but if I had to pick, it'd be between a pull-up rig. Now here's the reason behind this, okay?
That's a good answer.
A pull-up rig, so like the one I have in my garage. So there's obviously a pull-up bar, but a pull-up rig also I have hooks for a squat rack. So it's both. Squat rack, pull-up rig, and you can also put, on a lot of rigs, you can put a dip bar there too. So that has like some of my main stuff. But the only problem though, I don't know if I'm able to say, okay, I can use a barbell too. because I don't know if that would be considered two, like, because they go together.
Right.
So if those would go together, a barbell plus that's what I would do. But if the answer would be no, if that wouldn't be the answer to my own question, I would pick a barbell. As long as like I could have weight, I would pick a barbell in a heartbeat. I would really, really miss the pull-up rig and being able to do dips and pull-ups and squats from it or whatever. But at least with a barbell, you can still do, tons of stuff. So
you can still do your pulls with the barbell, even like in its holster. You know what I mean? You can still do the body weight pulls.
Yeah.
You can get creative and stick that thing up somewhere and turn it into a pull-up bar.
Yeah, that's a great answer. That's a great answer.
For real. So it would be one of those, and I would just miss, not having a barbell too. Like that would, I would just miss it too much. So
I say like the machine I miss the most. Sorry to just chime in right there, but I think my favorite exercise, which I do not have at home, is a row machine.
A row machine. Okay, which one?
Back, like just back, the seated back rows. Seated one. Okay. Seated back rows. I think has been my favorite exercise for years.
Okay.
And boy, am I missing that one.
Yeah.
I can do dumbbell rows. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not the same.
Dude,
and it feels different.
When I'm back in Cali, we'll have to go train together.
Yeah.
I know we'll be a little bit apart for a while, but that will be really fun. We got to do that, and we'll do the machine rows.
Sounds good.
So you can get your little fix over
there. I need it. It's been too long.
All right, guys, let's end the episode today with the Q&A. And the question, and again, this was AJ today. Love the question. And this is, does cardio actually help you lose weight? Great question. And this is a question that we will battle till the end of time, in my opinion. So the short answer to this, does cardio actually help you lose weight? The short answer is yes. But here is the problem with that, okay, without more information that I'm about to give you here. So a very common goal that people have at the gym, I would argue it's the most common goal that people have in the gym, or one of them is they want to lose weight, or more specifically, they want to lose body fat, okay? And some people, they'll say, I want to get leaner. Like, that's my goal. I want to be leaner. So very, very common goal. Now, being lean, though, what that actually means, it really consists of two things, okay? So first is actually having muscle or muscle mass. That's part of being lean. And the second would be, say, a low enough body fat percentage to where you could see that muscle. So that's a reductionist way to put that, but when people say I want to be lean, that is normally what they're talking about, okay? Now, back to my point. Many people think I want to lose weight, I want to be lean, so what I'm going to do is tons of aerobic exercise, okay? So the thought process is weights make you bulky, cardio makes you lean. That's like a very common mentality that you'll see at the gym, or just, amongst a lot of people. When someone starts doing an excessive amount of aerobic exercise to lose weight, they will definitely lose weight. I mean, this is assuming their nutrition is, on point. They will definitely lose weight, but it's not going to all be body fat. That's going to be the problem. So you are, on top of losing body fat, you're going to lose a good amount of muscle mass too. This is if you're doing tons of cardio. Now, this is especially true if this person that is trying to get lean and just doing tons of aerobic work doesn't want to resistance train, or decides they're not going to do a resistance training anymore, and they're just going to do tons and tons of aerobic work. Okay, so this is where the term skinny fat comes from. So think of someone, they're trying to lose weight, okay, they're trying to get lean, or at least in their head that's what they're trying to do. They do tons and tons of aerobic work. You see them, months later, and they look smaller, but they don't necessarily look leaner. Now, what happens is they lost a lot of muscle, and they also lost some fat. So losing both, it's not necessarily that their body fat percentage really went down. They did lose body fat, but they lost muscle too. So their body fat percentage might have not really changed that much. So you just see this person that's smaller, but doesn't necessarily look leaner. Now, let me make this really clear. I love cardio. I think cardio is fantastic. I think a lot of people should do it that don't do it. So I'm not bashing on aerobic exercise. I literally love aerobic exercise. But most people, here's the issue. With their goal of being lean, most people are going about it the complete wrong way. Okay. So if you're someone that wants to be lean, have some muscle, or at least that people can see, and a low enough body fat to see that muscle, then the optimal way to go about this, to this weight loss, quote unquote, is through resistance training being the primary thing that you do. Now, in an optimal world, and studies have shown too, like concurrent training, so when you're doing resistance training, and then some days, a few days a week, you're doing aerobic training, combining them like that, in that sense, that's fantastic as well. Just doing some cardio isn't going to take away from your muscle gains. I'm talking about when you get very excessive and do primarily just aerobic work. So combining them like that is great. But the reason why I think this is an issue, not because I have an issue with cardio, like I just said, it's 99% of the people that you see at the gym. This is if you include classes too, like people taking those group classes, right? I see that all the time at my gym. So they're going there a lot of times to lose weight. Okay. So those classes are perfectly fine, but people don't realize if they did more traditional resistance training, and then, of course, some cardio if they wanted, and assuming their diet was, or their nutrition was on point, they would actually obtain their goal. I don't want to say easier. I don't know if that's the right word, but that would actually point them to their goal more accurately than if they did just the tons of aerobic work, or how some of the classes are. It's more of I'll call it cardio with weights, where they do very, very light weights and very, very high repetitions, and they do it for an hour. That's a pretty traditional class. Again, nothing wrong with that. I would never in a million years try to discourage someone from not doing that. I think as fitness professionals, we do a terrible job creating barriers for people to just move. I think a lot of us, at least me, I know in the past, I've been guilty of that. So I never want to put this roadblock for someone. If that's all they want to do and they like it, fantastic. What I am saying, though, is optimally speaking, if that's what you're going for, resistance training, I would argue, would be or should be your primary if you were trying to get lean. Clay, you got anything with this?
Yeah. Cardio, the Latin roots, I'm going to butcher this, but the Latin roots of cardio is of the heart, basically. And I hope that I nailed that, but...
Nailed it.
Did I? Great. Okay. Thank you for the reinforcement. And so when we talk about cardio, really the name begets the purpose, and,
I like that.
Really, what is the main value of cardio? It's cardiovascular benefits, so
love it.
Right?
Love that. That's yep.
So 100%. When we talk about cardio, let's stop focusing on cardio being the way that we get lean, because it's a misconception anyway, like Jake's saying, and let's put it where it belongs, which is the place that's going to keep our body running longer, because we need to have good heart health. That's plenty of reason to do cardio. Forget about the rest. If you want to lose weight, you want to do a combination of, sure, some cardio if you like it, resistance training almost probably, and most importantly is work on your nutrition.
Dude.
When you when you're talking about body fat composition in particular.
You just dropped the mic so hard. I want to throw my mic at something.
That was good.
And you said it. I love how he starts his sentence off with, "I'm going to butcher this." Dude, that was so simple, but so profound and so true. I love what you just said right there. Let's stop looking at cardio as like, oh, let's just go burn tons of calories. Like, I'm sorry. Like, let's look at it for the benefits of what it does to your cardiovascular system and your heart. And I'm just saying, on an anecdotal note, I feel so much better just in general if I am doing cardio. You know what I mean? Like if I do just like, if I had to pick just one, which obviously I don't, I would pick resistance training. But when I make sure I do at least a few like aerobic sessions a week where there's no weight, it's literally just cardio or aerobic work, I just feel better. That's just me personally. I'm not saying you have to do that, but yeah, let's just like Clayton was saying, let's think of it as the heart and the health benefits behind it. You do get some benefit with resistance train regarding your heart, but it's still not to the same degree that it does with aerobic training. So love that point. AJ, did you have anything before we got out of here today?
I mean, you guys both touched on something that's just extremely important, and that's the nutrition. It's like a lot of these people who are trying to lose weight, and they tag on so much cardio, and then they're also in a calorie deficit to say. your body responds really well to how you treat it. So if you're going to continuously put yourself at a calorie deficit and do a ton of cardio and burn a bunch of calories, like the next time you eat, it's going to want to kind of retain a lot of stuff because ultimately you're depriving your body of its energy.
And
So if you can find that, just kind of find that balance of eat, don't not eat, definitely eat, keep it, feel your body and use that energy that you're bringing into your body and increase your metabolism.
And I want to you remind me, I want to say one thing before we end the episode today. So for most people, at least the way that 90% or more of people train, like recreational people at the gym, that are there doing their hour session. So exercise in general actually doesn't expend that many calories. I know it's very hard for people to believe. It's so little, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like resistance training, an hour session on average, somewhere in the ballpark of maybe expending a couple hundred calories, like 200 or so, which is not a lot. That is like what, a glass of whole milk or something like that.
Yeah.
And in cardio, if you did cardio for an hour straight, yes, you would expend a little bit more calories than your resistance training session, but it's so small. I'm not saying like it can't help you lose weight in the long run. That's not true. We can go into more detail about that on a different episode, but I love that you just said that, AJ. It was a great reminder. It's the nutrition at the end of the day is the thing that has to be dialed in the most. Yes, resistance training has to do with your body composition the most for sure, but the nutrition, that's what has to be dialed. So we should maybe do another nutrition episode coming up, guys. That'd be fun, and go into detail with some of this stuff again. It's been a little bit.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Be fun.
Let's do it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into the Mission Driven Made podcast today. If you did find value in the show and in our content, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review if you can. It'll take just a few seconds. It's going to help get our show out there and help us grow tremendously. You can find us on Instagram at Mission Driven Made. You could also find us on Facebook at what is called The Forum. The Forum is our online free fitness platform where you can go to converse with other listeners of the podcast, and also a place you can go to ask us questions, anything fitness related. We'd love to assist you there. Like I said, it's completely free. All right, everyone, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and until next time, stay mission driven.